So hello everyone. Today let's solve the problem 2 buttons. So you can read the entire problem. So they have clearly mentioned the problem statement along with the input and output. Also they have mentioned examples along with the input and the desired output. You can clearly see here for the input 4 and 6 we have to get the output 2. So like that they have given one more input and the desired output. So you can clearly read the problem, and I'll just summarize the problem for you so that it will be easier to understand. So just give me a second. So yeah, what the problem states here, Vasya has a device with 2 buttons. One multiplies the number of the number on the display by 2. Vasya has, first of all, 2 buttons, right? So first one, what it does, 1 multiplies the number on the display by 2. Suppose this is considered 1, this one, I'll just consider this one A. Suppose this is 1. Multiplies on the display by 2. This one they have given, and the other subtracts 1. And the other subtracts 1. Suppose if it is A, this is the second one, A minus 1. Other subtracts the 1, right? So this is nothing but, just give me a second. This is nothing but other subtracts 1 by 1. So that's what they have given in the question. So what is our main goal? The goal is to transform the starting number n into target number m. So we have to transfer the starting number n into target number m with the minimum number of button presses. So we have to go with the minimum number of button presses. So I'll just give button presses. So what we have to do, we have to transform the starting number n into target number m with the minimum number of button presses. That's what they have mentioned over here. We must figure out the fewest clicks that is needed to get from n to m. With the we have to figure out, or we have to determine the fewest clicks that is needed to get from n to m. This one, sorry, one second. Yeah, n to m using either of the 2 operations at each step. We can either use 1 or we can either use 2. These 2 operations that they have given. By making use of either of the operations, 1 or 2, we have to figure out the fewest clicks that is needed to get from n to m, this one. So that's what we have to determine. So let's discuss this one and discuss the approach, and then we will write the code, right? So what we'll do, first step as usual, we'll be going with the input reading or the input handling. So I'll just give here input reading. So this will be same for most of the problems. So I don't have to explain this one. While writing the code, you'll get to know. So this is JavaScript or the Node, this thing, right? Related to JavaScript or the Node thing. So second one, this is related to the input taking or input reading. Then we'll go with the second step. First, what we'll do, let's discuss the initialization. We will start from n and we want to reach m. While explaining the problem, I said the same thing. So we have to start from n and we have to reach m. That is our main goal. So we'll be making use of BFS. The approach we will be going with for this particular problem will be BFS, or the breadth first search. So we will use BFS. Why we'll be making use of BFS? Because it will be helpful in finding the shortest path in such transformation problems. So here, this is a transformation problem, right? We have to find the minimum clicks, where fewer, this one. With fewer clicks, we have to reach from n to m. Nothing but we have to find the shortest path distance from n to m. So in these cases, we'll be going with it will be very helpful. BFS will be very helpful, breadth first search. So we'll go with the approach BFS. So this will be the third step. So fourth step will be, so 2 operations. From any number x, we can either multiply by 2 into 2. I'll just take this one, some number a into 2, or this is first thing as they have mentioned in the question. I clearly said you, this is second. Either we can subtract by minus 1. So exit into 2 and they have given this has to be less than or equal to 20,000 in the constraints. 20k, I'll just write 20k. So this is nothing but the 20,000, less than or equal to 20,000 they have given into 2. This should be x minus 1, nothing but minus 1. This has to be greater than 0. So in the constraint. So this you have to keep in mind, the fourth step. So after the fourth step, fifth step is, so our main goal is to utilize the BFS that will explore each possibility step by step. And once we reach M, the algorithm will stop and we will return the number of clicks taken. So in the fourth step, after doing the fourth step, we'll be getting the output and we have to display that output. For that, I'll be making use of console log in JavaScript to print the output. So this will be the fifth step will be, we will output the result. So the approach that we will be going for this problem is this one. So you just remember, we'll be going with the approach BFS and these things, Now, so the question and the approach that I have explained it clearly. Let's try solving the problem so that you will come to know clearly. So just give me a second. So here what we do, the first step is input handling, right? We'll be importing the FS module to get the input data. So I'll just give let FS equals require of this one, FS. So after this one, what we'll do, we have to read the input from standard input. Also, we have to trim for the extra spaces. We have to remove the extra spaces, right, if it is not required. And also to distinguish between the different numbers or characters in the same line, we'll be making use of the split. Also map the whole input lines. So how can we write that? I'll just write here, let input equals fs dot read file sync of, will start from 0 and we'll set the encoding to UTF-8. Also we'll trim for the white spaces. We'll make use of the trim. Then split space also. Let's map and I'll just take some random name A. We have to read, so I'll just give plus A. This is fine. Next, we'll make use of the destructuring operator. What we are doing here, we'll be destructuring the input array into variables n and m. Nothing but n is the starting number and m is the target number. You just have to remember here, n is starting number, again I'm telling, and m is the target number. So let n equals input of 0, I'll give here, and also m equals input of this one will be 1. So after this, let's define the function solve. Nothing but it will compute the minimum number of button presses. So we are making use of the function solve that computes the minimum number of button presses, right? So I'll just give const solve. So I'll just take the parameter, 2 parameters, nothing but n and m, right? So here n and m we know. N is nothing but the starting number and m is nothing but the target number. So initially what we will do, we will initialize the array distance, or I'll just give dist in my case to keep track of the minimum steps for each number. Initially we'll set that one to infinity. So why we are setting that one to infinity? We haven't visited any numbers yet, right? So we are just initializing the array. So I'll just give let dist equals 20,000. I'll just set this one to, sorry, we have to initialize the array, right? So where is my head? So just give me a second. Within the array of size this one, and we will fill this one with infinity. Just fill this one with infinity. This is fine. Then let's initialize the queue. Why we are initializing the queue? To process the number in BFS order. Nothing but first in, first out, right? So while we are making use of FIFO, queue, we are making use of the FIFO. Nothing but we are initializing a queue to process the numbers in BFS order. Nothing but FIFO. Let me initialize this one to empty array. Also, let's start next step. Let's start from the number n. the starting one, and set its distance to 0 initially. So we have not clicked anything so far, right? So this will be q. For adding, I'll just make use of the push n, and also list of n, we are setting this one to 0. So this is fine. Next step is we will perform the BFS until the queue is empty. The queue has to be empty, right? We are going with the FIFO, first in, first out. So the queue has to be empty. Until that, we'll be performing the BFS. So the length of the queue has to be to perform the BFS operation. So the length of the queue has to be greater than 0. It cannot be 0 or below, right? So for this particular thing, I'll be making use of while loop. So this has to be true for every case. So I'll just give queue.length. This has to be greater than 0, one thing, and also let x equals queue.shift. We'll remove the first one, right, by making use of shift. So next, if we have reached the target number m, then we will return the number of clicks, nothing but distance. Here I can make use of, this is just a condition. I'll go with the if condition. If x equals m, then we will return distance of x. I have took the variable name as dist, right, for the distance. I'll just give distance of x over here. So after this step, if multiplying x by 2 is within bounds, nothing but if it is less than or equal to 20,000. Here, initialization of array. Here we have considered the number 20,001, right? So this has to be less than or equal to 20,000. That means, so if multiplying x by 2 is within the bounds, nothing but less than or equal to 20,000, and if we haven't visited the number before, then we can set its distance as the current distance plus 1, nothing but one more click we are performing. Also after that, we will enqueue the new number, nothing but x into 2. So a into 2, I had explained the same thing while during the approach, right? So for this, this is certain condition, right? I'll just make use of the if this one. If x into 2 is within the bounds of 20,000, and so distance of x into 2, here this one, if it is equal to infinity, then what we will do, I'll just give distance of x into 2, this one equals distance of x plus 1. So this is one thing. Also, we will enqueue the new number x into 2 for further processing. So enqueuing is nothing but adding, right? Adding is nothing but we can make use of the push directly. So q.push, so x into 2. So this is one thing. The next step is we have went with a into 2, nothing but x into 2. Now we are having the another option, nothing but subtracting 1, right? So if subtracting 1 from x results in the positive number and we haven't visited that one before, then we will set its distance as the current distance plus 1, same thing. And we will also enqueue the new number x minus 1 for further processing. These were the two these things. Either we can multiply by 2 or subtract by 1. They had clearly mentioned in the problem. So during the approach also I had mentioned the same thing, right? So let's go with the same thing. If x minus 1 greater than 0 and distance of x minus 1, if this is equal to positive infinity, make sure that the I is always capital I. Make this mistake hell lot of times, means I always go with the small I, and I'll get an error. After that I'll correct it most of the times. So it is positive infinity, and make sure that the I is capital. So here after this one we'll be setting the distance as the current distance plus 1. Also we'll enqueue the new number. Enqueuing the new number is nothing but we are adding the new number. In JavaScript we can just make use of the push, right? So here these two steps is same as the previous one. I'll just give x minus 1. Instead of x into 2, we are going with the x minus 1. So it will be distance of x plus 1. Also q dot push of this will be x minus 1. So I hope this is clear till here, right? Finally, we have got by either of these two steps, we should have got the now we would be getting the solution. And after getting the solution, what we have to do? We have to print the result, right? For printing the result, we will be making use of the console log. So I'll just give console log. We have written the function. I'll just make use of solve of. We have 2 parameters, I think, right? In the solve. Yeah, this one I'm speaking of. The previous function that we wrote. So 2 parameters. I'll just mention the same over here. Nothing but n, m. So this has to work now. This is it. So I'll just come here. Let me copy the input and we have to get the output too. So I'll just come here. Let me paste this one and run. So we are getting some error, right? This the line number 13. This has to be distance. Dist. The variable name I have took is dist. 19. Just give me a second here. Here, this has to be. I have to add t over here. So let me add t here. Let me run this one again. So we are getting the output 2. So for this input, we are getting the correct output. So this one, we have to get the desired output is 9. We have to get output 9, right? So I'll just come here. So let me hit on run. So we are getting the correct output, right? So this code works absolutely fine. Just give me a second. So I'll just come here. Let me hit on submit code. So we have to select the problem. I'll just select D. So let me paste the problem over here. Let me click on submit. So let's wait for some time.
Then that's it. Is that the invalid?
So yeah, clearly you can see here, this got accepted, right? So yeah, here this code now works absolutely correct. One typo I had done. What did I do actually? I forgot. So here, yeah, I had declared the variable dist, but this was a typo, right? I had just given dist. So now the code works absolutely correct. So this is it. Thanks for watching, guys.